Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Nivarnavati Gopinam Nivarnavati Yashodanandana Prabhupada Shodanandana Prabhupada Amnatira Yara Anava Muvavira Jayaraju Madhava Mujabihari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5, 631. Ajasat Vikuravanat Indriyani Dasha Abhavan Jnana Shakti Kriya Shakti Buddhi Prana Cha Ajaso Rotram Vak Prana Drik Shivaha Bak Tohu Medri Angri Ayavaha. How many? Here's the whole. All the lines? 6 lines? Okay. Ajasatu Vikurvana Indriyani Dasha Bhavan Jnana Shakti Kriya Shakti Buddhi Pranascha Taijaso Rutram Tvagrana Drik Jiva Bhagdo Medra Ripayavaha Ajasatu Vikurvana Shabam Jnana Shakti Kriya Shakti Buddhi Pranascha Taijaso Rutram Tvagrana Drik Jiva Vagdormidrangri Payavaha Aijasattu Vikurvana Indriyani Dashabhavam Jnana Shakti Kriya Shakti Buddhi Pranas Chataijasa Utram Tvagrana Drikjiva Vagdormidrangri Payavaha
Rajasatu Vikurvanar Indriyani Dashabhavan Gnana Sakti Kriya Sakti Buddhi Prana Satyajaso Srotram Tvagrana Drikjiva Vaktor Med Renangri Payava
Ajasattu Vikurvana Indriyani Dasabhavan Jnana Shakti Kriya Shakti Buddhi Pranashchat Taijaso Shrocham Tvak Granadrik Jiva Vagdor Megrang Gripayavaha Ajasattu Vikurvana Indriyani Dashabhavan Jnana Shakti Kriya Shakti Buddhi Pranashchataijaso Shrotram Tvagrana Drikjiva Vagdor Medhang Gripayavaha Dajasatu Vikurvana Indriyani Dashabhavan Jnana Shakti Kriya Shakti Buddhi Pranashchataijaso Shrotram Tvagrana Drikjiva Vagdor Medhang Gripayavaha
Ajasattu Vikurvanad Indriyani Dashabhavan Jnana Shakti Kriya Shaktir Buddhi Pranashthitajaso Shotram Tvagrana Drikjiva Bhagdor Medhrangri Payavaha
Ajasat by the passionate egoism.
passionate egoism.
2.
2.
But
But
Vikurvanat,
Gurvana,
transformation of
transformation of
Indriyani,
Jani,
senses.
the sense,
Dasha,
Dasha,
10.
10,
Abhavan,
Abhavan,
generated.
generated,
Jnana Shakti,
Jnana Shakti,
5 senses for acquiring knowledge.
the 5 senses for acquiring knowledge.
Kriya Shakti,
Kriya Shakti,
5 senses of activities.
5 senses of activity.
Buddhi,
Buddhi,
intelligence.
intelligence.
Prana,
Prana,
the living energy.
the living energy.
Cha,
Cha,
also.
also.
Rajaso,
So,
all products of the mode of passion.
all products of the mode of passion.
Sutram, sense for hearing.
Sense for hearing.
Look,
What?
the sense for touching.
The sense for touching.
Prana,
Dana,
sense for smelling.
the sense for smelling.
Trik,
Trit,
the sense for seeing.
the sense for seeing.
Jiva,
Jiva,
the sense for tasting.
the sense for tasting.
Vak,
Bak,
the sense for speaking.
the sense for speaking.
Doho,
Doho,
the sense for handling.
the sense for handling.
Medra, the genitals. Angri,
Ugri,
the legs.
the legs.
Ayavaha,
Ayavaha,
the sense of evacuating.
sense of evacuating.
Translation. By further transformation of the mode of passion, the sense organs like the ear, skin, nose, eyes, tongue, mouth, hands, genitals, legs, and the outlet for evacuating, together with intelligence and living energy, are all generated. Report.
The living condition in material existence depends more or less on one's intelligence and powerful living energy. Intelligence to counteract the hard struggle for existence is assisted by the senses for acquiring knowledge, and the living energy maintains himself by manipulating the active organs like the hands and legs. But on the whole, the struggle for existence is an exertion of the mode of passion. Therefore, all the sense organs, headed by intelligence and the living energy, prana, are different products and byproducts of the second mode of nature called passion. This mode of passion, however, is the product of the air element as described before.
These are some of the inner workings of how the material cosmic manifestation is developed and how the bodies are made, the bodies of all living entities, 8,400,000 species. They're all working primarily from the mode of passion. And we see that people are not just people, animals are passionate, birds are passionate, even trees. They may not look so passionate above the earth, but below the earth, very passionately going for getting the food in the form of some liquid mixture with earth. And they're so powerful that the roots of the tree can break up the structure of a building. Very passionate. So, and they're all reproducing. This is another principle of passion, reproduction. And in other places in the Bhagavatam, it explains But the Lord is so amazingly genius. He has created this passionate desire, and he gives them, every species gets some pleasure out of the reproduction act. And the reason is because if they did not, then they wouldn't reproduce. Why would they reproduce? It's a lot of trouble. But they go through the whole reproduction thing because there's a little pleasure in the activity of sexual intercourse on whatever level, whether it's like some species, they have the male and the female exactly interacting, and then others, there's other ways. But it's amazing how, if we accept the philosophy or the theory that everything's happening accidentally, it would be quite difficult to imagine the odds of 8,400,000 species all accidentally coming up with their own very ingenious reproduction system. And they pass on that information from generation to generation without big organization, educational institutions. So a person who's a little thoughtful, has a little intelligence, he can understand from the beginning, at least until he begins to, and when he's able to analyze things a little bit. When he's still, like, for example, a little child, he cannot analyze too much. Just like the animals don't analyze too much. But human being can analyze and understand that I have my parents and they're taking care of me. He puts trust in me. And the mother, that she will give him something valuable like milk. She'll protect him. And she does that. So that natural faith is there, even in the animal species. They have faith that their mother will not exploit them and cause them harm. And this faith grows. And so it turns into some kind of affection. Maybe affection based on their own selfishness, because they want to exist and they want to have some sense gratification. Nevertheless, some affection is there, and that's Mother Nature. That's the nurturing system of nature. But behind the scene is the Father. And this is the main platform of Krishna consciousness, that don't forget the Father. We're all appreciating the workings of nature, but nature doesn't act in the way it does automatically. Like a mother in any species doesn't give birth without the contact of the male. This is a fact of life. And it's important. You may say, well, what difference does it make? I can live just as well without knowing that. But we can live just as well without that, because we won't know what the purpose of life is. The purpose of life is to serve the Father. Serve the mother as well, because the mother is serving the Father. That's the Vedic system, that the wife serves the husband. The husband serves the wife in a different way by protection and maintenance. In that way, by pleasing the Father, the Supreme Lord, all living entities are made happy. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, at the beginning of creation, I sent forth generations, men, demigods, and along with the instruction to be happy by performance of sacrifice. Everything is meant to be sacrificed to Vishnu, to the Lord. If everything is used as an offering to him, then everything goes well. Then they can live happily in this world. And eventually go back to the spiritual world where there is no more anxiety and death and miseries. Miseries are not natural. We may say it's natural for us. According to the material nature, we do have to suffer diseases and birth and old age and death. But in the spiritual world, there's no need for that. Like in the prison, there's no need, in the ordinary free society, there's no need to have prison bars and gates on each door. Every person has to be in a cell. That's only for the criminals. In the prison, they have to have like that because these are persons that don't know how to behave properly. They injure others. So this is the material world, and it's a place of suffering. A real philosopher will conclude that. He'll conclude that this place there's a lot of suffering and a few moments of interspersed so-called pleasure. We say pleasure because since death can happen at any moment, you can't really call anything really pleasure. There's no unadulterated pleasure. We see even the birds. The bird sees some eatable on the ground, flies down, and the bird tries to eat the worm or whatever. And while he's eating the worm, he's thinking, this is nice, but I can't get too carried away with this being nice. Because as soon as he's not careful, the cat comes and pounces on the bird and eats the bird. And the cat also has to watch out for the dogs. If the cat gets too enjoying the mood, the situation, that he got a nice meal, and he can be. So this is dog-eat-dog world, material world. Jiva, jiva, sajiva. One living entity is food for the other living entity. But actually, as we were discussing yesterday or the day before, there's no need really for food for the living entity. He doesn't require food to live. The living entity is eternal, constitutionally. But in the material world, everything is based on eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And everything they do in that direction is, they call it joyfulness or happiness. If they can sleep, they make a good arrangement for sleeping, then they think this is a success. But actually, the real success is not those four things, but to be absorbed in serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's our duty. That's our mission. That's our dharma. Dharma means the intrinsic nature of a thing. And the dharma of the human being, or shall we say the dharma of every living being, is to serve. Except one, Ekale Ishvara Krishna. There's one master, Krishna, and all others are servants. So, except Krishna, everyone's meant to serve and serve the master. Then all the parts and parcels will be happy, all the servants. The master is so great that he's able to satisfy all the living entities, even though they have so many desires. They have so many desires. Just like when the living entity has desires, he has desires for a particular body. According to the body he has desires, sense gratification, to gratify his senses. The smelling sense, the seeing sense, the understanding sense, the movement of the body. These are all the living entities that are trying to figure out how to get as much pleasure out of each of these senses as possible. And when the living entity becomes liberated from this condition, where he's thinking he's the body, it doesn't mean he has no desires. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have wants. No, he still has desires. They're eternal. But they become corrupted in the contact of the material nature. Three modes of material nature corrupts the desires and the senses, and everything becomes corrupted. The atmosphere is corrupted. So the solution is that one should continue desiring, but purify the desires. And that purified desire means in connection with Krishna, in pleasing him. Sri Rupa Goswami discusses this, how pure devotional service means serving the Lord without any tinge of desire for sense enjoyment or mental speculation. Pure devotional service. Favorably directed towards the Lord. That's natural. And that will make us happy. If we don't believe it, we can do an experiment. We can try performing devotional service under the direction of the Lord and his representatives and see if we're happier than we were trying to get ahead in this material world and try to be the top enjoyer. Everyone thinks that they die and they have the most enjoyment points, that was successful. Their life was successful. But real intelligence means one should live his life and not give it up like an animal, but give it up fearlessly. One should not be afraid at the time of death. He should not be afraid of anything because he knows he's eternal. Cuts off all attachment to his body and the family, all connections, and is interested. He's planning to go back to Godhead. That's his Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Param Sara. The goal is to go back to Godhead, to go back to Krishna or Vishnu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the class. I was just wondering, when you were talking about the father and the mother and how a living entity develops attachment for Mother Nature or Mother Earth. I was just wondering, because we see this in material life as well. I have personal experience that the children and the wife or the mother, they kind of take the husband for granted. So I'm just wondering, why is it that we do this?
Well, at least in the case of with the Supreme Father, it's due to ignorance. We're not properly educated. When one is educated properly to know, like the children, they bow down very easily. They don't have a false ego. That, why should I bow down? They immediately, they're happy. If they're taught to bow down, therefore education should begin. Komara Acharya Pragyo Dharma Bhagavatam should begin very early. From the very beginning, the parents should show by example how to bow down before the Supreme Father and the Supreme Mother, Lakshmi or Radharani, also Supreme Mother. So we bow down, worship Radha Krishna taught like that. It'll be very easy. The whole life can be properly directed. And when we're taught something different than that, bow down to the sex objects or bow down to get some money or whatever, then we grow up corrupted. Our intelligence is destroyed. It's like we have a society that doesn't think the Father is important. Corrupted mind. How can we think like that? That he's not important, he's supplying everything. Even the breathing of the air, the intelligence, it's all supplied by him. It's not happening accidentally. So that's what happens. Ignorance corrupts. And passion corrupts. He becomes so eager to enjoy, becomes so greedy that he commits horrible acts against others without considering what's good for them, what will be pleasing for them. He just for himself, selfishness.
I didn't have a question. I just wanted to make a comment, if that's okay. I liked how you were talking about the bird trying to eat the worm, but as soon as he lands, he starts looking over his shoulder. And yesterday, I was looking at just some ants crawling on the sidewalk, and at any second, any kind of living entity could come and just pick them up, and life as they know it is completely distraught. But we walk around, we don't think this could happen. I guess I could turn this into a question. Why is that? Why don't we feel that fear or same level of urge to, do something with our lives, kind of just glide through?
Yeah. That's what Yamaraj was asking user, what's the most wonderful thing? And he said, Ahanya Hani Bhutani Kachanti Himalaya Sheshastavam Ishatam. That every day living entities are dying and going to the abode of Yamaraj. But the living entities that haven't died yet, they think they won't die. Like the example of cow dung. The cow dung that's dried, they put in India, they use cow dung for burning as a fuel. It's very good fuel. So they put it, they stick it on the wall. It's wet, it says on the wall. And, but it's out in the hot sun, so gradually it dries up. So the wet cow dung just put on the wall. He's laughing at the dry cow dung that's getting burned in the fire. He's saying, just see that poor dry cow dung. He's having to be burned in the fire, and I'm safe. He thinks he's safe on the wall. He doesn't realize he's drying out too, and soon he'll be in the fire. So this is the lack of intelligence of the cow dung patty. And the humans are basically, their intelligence is degrading now to the level of cow dung patties. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.